Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine the skies of tomorrow. They're getting busier, smarter, and, well, incredibly innovative. But who's making sure it all stays safe and efficient as we push the boundaries?
That's the key question, isn't it? And what's fascinating here is how the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA in the U.S., and EASA, the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, are actively shaping that future right now. This deep dive, it pulls together their latest strategic briefings, the July 2025 updates. It gives us a real-time snapshot of where aviation is heading globally.
Right. So what does this all mean for you? Maybe you're just curious, maybe preparing for a meeting, you're just trying to catch up on the field. We're going to try and cut through the noise, give you those crucial aha moments, show you exactly how aviation is transforming, right before our eyes. Distill the most important nuggets, the surprising facts, make you instantly well-informed. Let's start with one of the most critical challenges, keeping our skies staffed. There's this national shortage, right? Around 3,000 air traffic controllers short in the U.S., and Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy is really pushing to tackle it head on.
That's right. And the FAA is taking a truly multi-pronged approach here. It's not just one thing. They've significantly expanded programs like the Enhanced Air Traffic Collegiate Training Initiative, TCTI, they call it.
Yeah.
Middle Georgia State University is the latest addition, first one in Georgia, actually. And it's one of 8 programs now across 7 schools, offering advanced training, very similar to the FAA Academy itself. The big picture here is creating this robust, reliable pipeline, talent coming straight from universities.
Okay, building the pipeline. But what about getting them into the towers faster? Is that happening?
Absolutely. Speed is key. They're not just expanding, they're accelerating the whole process. The administrative journey, from application to actually getting placed at the academy, they've cut that by over 5 months.
5 months. That's significant.
It really is. And the FAA Academy itself expanded its on-site training capacity by nearly 30%. They were hosting a record 550 students by the end of July. That's a historic high. Plus, they're offering financial incentives for trainees, especially if they accept positions in those hard-to-staff locations. And there's even talk of a 30% salary increase for trainees.
Wow. Okay, so they're really putting resources behind this, targeting the tricky spots. What about experienced folks, or different routes into the system? Good question. They've also launched the Control Tower Operator Partnership, the CTOP. This directly integrates graduates from FAA-approved schools into federal contract towers, the FCTs. But the really interesting part, I think, is that controllers with 52 weeks experience in those FCTs, they can now be directly hired into the FAA. It streamlines things for people who already have that valuable experience, recognizes their expertise.
Okay, so we've dug into how they're fixing the workforce gap. These strategies sound pretty comprehensive. But who is leading this charge? Let's talk about the new leadership at the FAA. Brian Bedford, just confirmed as the new FAA administrator, overseeing, over 40,000 employees? He takes over from acting administrator Chris Rocheleau. And Bedford brings a ton of experience, right? 35 years in aviation, 26 as CEO of Republic Airways.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of industry background there. And Administrator Bedford isn't wasting any time. His strategic focus seems to be collaborating directly with Secretary Duffy, developing a cutting-edge air traffic control system. The goal is deployment within the next 3 to 4 years. That's ambitious.
3 to 4 years, okay.
He's really emphasizing modernization, fostering innovation within the agency. And he's building trust, doing nationwide visits to FAA facilities, really trying to understand the challenges from the ground up. So it's not just a new face, it's injecting deep industry experience right at the top during this massive transformation.
Right, makes sense. Okay, so beyond the people, the controllers, what are the physical stuff, the infrastructure? What's happening on the ground to make flights smoother, safer? Newark Liberty, EWR, you mentioned, is a good example.
Yes, EWR has seen some pretty major upgrades recently. They just completed a critical infrastructure project, a new fiber optic network. This enhances communications resilience between the New York and Philadelphia TRACONs. The radar approach controls. It now has dual path connectivity. So if one path fails, the other keeps things running.
Redundancy. Crucial.
Absolutely. They installed it back in June, tested it over the last month. It's up and running. For you, the traveler, this means fewer communication-related delays, a more robust system, especially in that incredibly dense airspace.
Okay, resilience is good. But Newark is always busy, right? How are they managing traffic flow, especially with construction?
Yeah, that's always the challenge at hubs like Newark. So to manage efficiency and safety during construction, they issued a final order. It limits flight arrivals and departures 28 per hour during construction. That'll increase to 34 per hour once the work is done.
Limiting flights sounds counterintuitive, but I guess it's for safety and predictability.
Exactly. It's a strategic move. Predictable flow is safer during upgrades, and they expect the runway 4L22R construction to be finished by June 15th, 2025. So relief is in sight. Also, related to staffing, Philadelphia TRACON is getting more controllers. 25 new controllers and supervisors are in training right now, directly addressing that workforce need in a critical area.
Good to hear.
And looking ahead, they plan to establish a STARS hub at Philly TRACON by the end of summer. That's the Standard Terminal Automation Replacement System, modern radar data system. It gives controllers a much better, more precise picture of local traffic, safer, more efficient flows.
Okay, so big upgrades on the ground. But the regulators are also watching the day-to-day operations closely, aren't they? What was that about the FAA and Bridgewater State University? A penalty.
Ah, yes. That was a proposed civil penalty. $88,108 against their FAA-approved pilot school. It was for alleged lapses in record-keeping, things like missing logs for 9 students' attendance, training details, test results, and also inadequate records for an assistant chief instructor's training. It really highlights that rigorous admin compliance is just as vital as the hardware or the procedures. Small gaps can have big safety implications.
Right. Everything needs to be documented properly. Okay, so we've covered people, we covered ground infrastructure. Let's shift gears. The very definition of flight is changing, isn't it? Drones, air taxis. How are the FAA and EASA adapting to all these new types of aircraft?
It's a huge area of focus. On the drone front, the FAA has been busy. They did comprehensive drone detection testing down near Santa Teresa, New Mexico, June 16th to 27th. Key goals: see how well the tech works in hot, dry climates, and crucially, make sure it doesn't interfere with existing FAA or aircraft systems.
Interference is a big concern, yeah.
Definitely. They collaborated with Customs and Border Protection, local first responders, used several large drones, maybe 100 or so commercial off-the-shelf ones. This was actually their third off-airport test like this, Alaska and New Jersey before. More planned for North Dakota and Mississippi. Strategically, it's all about detecting unauthorized drones, keeping airspace secure, especially near borders or important sites.
Makes sense. And what about Europe? ESA's busy with drones too, right?
Oh, absolutely. EASA launched the 4th release of its Innovative Air Mobility Hub that was back on May 23rd. It's basically a digital platform, a central spot for sharing info on drones, electric aircraft across the EU. It includes things like EU-wide population density data, geozones, those are specific airspace areas for drones, and an updated drone database. They're really trying to position Europe to lead in the drone economy.
A data hub. Interesting approach.
Yeah, and they also updated airworthiness guidance for UAS unmanned aircraft systems that don't need full certification. This includes new ways to meet safety goals for what they call SAIL 3 and SAIL 4 operations. Think of SAIL levels like risk categories. Higher number, higher risk, stricter rules. It's about scaling drone operations safely.
Okay, SAIL levels. Got it.
Yeah.
Now, this move towards new aircraft like air taxis, it feels global. Is there international collaboration happening?
There is, and it's pretty significant. The FAA is working closely with Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK, all collaborating on certifying these advanced air mobility, or AAM, aircraft, their main goal, create a harmonized roadmap for certification, sign a declaration of intent. Basically, share data, research, safety info, ensure these new technologies are introduced safely and efficiently, globally.
Harmonization. That sounds crucial if you want air taxis flying everywhere.
Exactly. It streamlines approvals for manufacturers, reduces barriers. Imagine not needing totally different certifications for every country. The aim is universal acceptance, eventually.
And ESA must have its own rules lining up for this, too, for innovative air mobility.
They do. EASA introduced new regulations specifically for manned VTOL-capable aircraft, VCAs. Vertical takeoff and landing. These include enhanced guidelines for air operations, that's part IAM, covers pre-flight planning, finding suitable landing sites, vertiports managing fuel, or rather energy requirements. Also changes to flight crew licensing, new training for VCA type ratings, broader knowledge needed, and they've updated the standard European air rules, SARA, to include fuel energy terminology. It's about building that comprehensive framework so these innovative aircraft can actually operate safely alongside everything else.
Right, integrating them safely. Now, it's not just the high-tech stuff. Recreational flying is getting a shake-up, too. Tell us about the FAA's Mosaic rule.
Mosaic, yes. Modernization of Special Airworthiness Certification, announced July 22nd in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, heart of general aviation. This is a potential game changer for recreational flying. The headline is Removing Weight Limits for Light Sport Aircraft LSAs, but the real insight, this opens the door for serious innovation.
How so? Beyond just weight.
Well, think about it. It allows for aircraft with higher speeds, more seats, retractable landing gear, things previously outside the LSA category. It permits new types of propulsion, modern avionics integration. Imagine a new wave of LSAs that are not just light, but safer, faster, more capable.
Okay, so more advanced small planes becoming accessible.
Potentially, yes. And it expands what sport pilots can fly, a broader range of these modernized LSAs. It even authorizes LSAs for some types of aerial work, infrastructure inspections, photography, agricultural surveillance maybe. The changes for pilots and repairmen kick in 90 days after publication. For the aircraft certification itself, it's 365 days. The hope is it boosts availability of affordable, safe, modern aircraft, grows general aviation, lets more people fly safely, maybe upgrade their planes.
Very interesting. Lots of potential there. Okay, shifting again. With all this innovation, safety is always the bedrock. What are the agencies doing about new emerging risks, things we didn't worry about so much a decade ago?
EASA is definitely focused here. Take lithium batteries. They issued a new Safety Information Bulletin, a SIB, on May 28th, directly addressing the growing risks on commercial flights. And let's face it, we all travel with tons of devices now.
True. Phones, laptops, power banks.
Exactly. So the bulletin pushes for better passenger communication carry devices in the cabin, not checked bags, mandatory staff training on handling potential fires, specific guidance for e-cigs, power banks definitely not in checked bags, don't charge them during flight, clear limits on battery size, watt hours, and rules for protecting spare batteries from short circuits. Proactive stuff.
Okay, lithium battery is a tangible risk. What about something like GPS interference? That sounds trickier.
It is trickier, and it's a growing concern. EASA and IATA, the Airline Association, have outlined a comprehensive plan. They're tackling the rising threat of GNSS interference, jamming, and spoofing, and the numbers are startling. A 220% increase in reported GPS signal loss incidents between 2021 and 2024.
220%. Wow.
Yeah. So the plan focuses on standardized reporting using NOTAMs, notices to air missions, real-time monitoring, stronger controls on jamming devices, technical fixes for rapid GPS recovery if it drops out. Importantly, maintaining traditional navigation aids as a backup, can't rely solely on satellites. And fostering better civil-military coordination, they're pushing for global alignment on this at ICAO, the international body. It needs a united front.
Absolutely. And you mentioned another specific safety bulletin about engines. CFM LAP engines.
Right. EC issued a SIB about the load reduction device, or LRD, activating on some CFM LAAT engines. The LRD is a safety feature, protects the engine from extreme forces, like a severe bird strike. But the concern was, in 2 incidents on Boeing 737 dates with the LAP-1B variant, even though the LRD worked, there was still significant engine damage and smoke. Thankfully, no injuries reported. And interestingly, no similar issues reported on the Airbus A320neo family using LAP engines. So it points to needing a closer look at that specific engine variant or installation.
Okay, specific engine concerns. Now, beyond immediate safety threats, what about the long-term view? Sustainability. It's huge in aviation now. How are regulators pushing airlines, and maybe even us passengers, towards being greener?
A really interesting initiative is the EU Flight Emissions Label, the FEL. EASA has partnered with Air France-KLM on this. They're the first airline group to sign a memorandum of cooperation. The aim is transparency, making flight emissions clear, getting passengers engaged in decarbonization. Air France-KLM will test the digital FEL portal, providing detailed data fuel burn, load factors, fuel types used like sustainable aviation fuel. It's not just reporting for reporting's sake. It's about empowering passengers with information, driving airlines towards accountability and real action on their climate goals. Setting a standard.
A visible label, like on appliances, could make a difference. Okay, let's wrap up the regulatory picture. Broader frameworks, international cooperation. Sound like these agencies are constantly adapting.
Exactly. It's about continuous evolution. EASA and Eurocontrol, the European Air Traffic Management Body, reinforced their partnership on June 26th. They amended their memorandum of cooperation. It wasn't just renewing old ties. They significantly expanded it. Beyond sustainability and safety, they're now collaborating deeply on things like cybersecurity, research and innovation, CNS communication, navigation, surveillance. It shows they understand aviation is becoming more digital, more interconnected. You need a holistic approach, future-proofing the system.
Cybersecurity, R&I, makes sense.
And another sign of adaptation. EASA put out a call for interest, looking to accredit 3 to 5 external qualified entities. The idea is to outsource some certification and oversight tasks specifically for information security in aviation. Deadline set 16th. It shows even the regulators are evolving, bringing in specialized external expertise to keep up with the complexity.
Wow, what a deep dive indeed. It's clear that the world of aviation isn't just flying, it's actively, rapidly evolving on every single front, from the people in the towers to the planes themselves, how they fly, even how we measure their impact. It's a lot.
It really is. And if we connect all these dots, these aren't just, technical tweaks, they're foundational shifts. They're going to reshape how we experience air travel, which raises a final thought, maybe for you to ponder. As these regulations keep adapting, as technology accelerates, how might these changes, infrastructure, workforce, the new kinds of aircraft, how might they fundamentally alter your next flight experience? What new opportunities might open up for pilots, for passengers, and how will we all adapt to this incredibly dynamic future that's unfolding right now?